Have you heard the teaching in the yeshivas that says, you think Hashem loves you when the Torah says he loves you? You think Hashem is really angry? God forbid, they say. That's the childish version of understanding the Torah. Now we're adults and we know that God is infinite. He can't possibly love you. That would be not only blasphemous, because that would imply that he's somehow composite and we know that he's one, but also it's silly. What would the infinite creator of the whole universe, Ein Od Milvado, there's nothing besides him, have an emotional reaction to? Come on, they say. Be more mature. You're an adult now. You don't need to be cuddled. The Torah is there for you. You think the mitzvahs are for him? No, it's for you. Hashem is kind. He wants you to get ahead in life. He created the world in a certain way. He tells you what's the way to reward and what's the way to avoid punishment. Do it, unless you're stupid. So that's what Torah is. And then at the same time, we're told we have to love him. We're told to sacrifice our life for him. We're told to spend every last minute of our waking life doing mitzvot for him. We say prayers all day about how much we love him and about how much he loves us, but somehow we have to deal with all that. And does that not kill the love? In fact, not just kill it, does it not make it impossible to love him? How can you possibly love someone who can't possibly love you back? So that's not true. That is not true. That is a misunderstanding. That is a bastardization of the true teachings. And I'll give you one quick demonstration and then I'll get onto the true teachings, okay? One of the reasons why this teaching comes about is because of a statement from the Rambam, which says that whenever the Torah says that Hashem is emotionally reacting to us, we should know that he's just acting. It's an action. More Nevuchim, around chapter 50 or so in part 1. Those people back then had a very, very primitive understanding of philosophy. So it wasn't possible to tell those people then that your emotions are also actions too, because back then people thought that they were just their body. I'm a body, and there's my heart, there's my brain, I'm a composite being, unlike Hashem. So therefore, they interpreted that, and people have interpreted that ever since, unfortunately, especially people who have resisted the Kabbalistic teachings, which have corrected or elaborated on this teaching of the Rambam, I'd say. Although some would say that it's been disagreed with, but whatever. I'm not going to go into that. I love the Rambam. I'm sure that's not what they meant. But people thought that we were a body, and therefore our emotions are different to Hashem's in a way that's not true. Our emotions are real, his are just actions. So therefore they understood that Hashem is acting. They thought that's what the Rambam is saying. He's pretending to love you. You know how he does nice things to you when he says he loves you? Well, yeah, that's because when we feel the real emotion of love, which Hashem doesn't have, we do nice things to others. So therefore, that's what it means. He's acting. And we now know, it was in the Kabbalah much earlier, but the secular philosophies caught up eventually and started this whole debate about the self and the consciousness and abstractionness and what is the self and who is me. We now have a basic understanding that we are not just a body. We are a soul. And we're not necessarily even just a soul. There's something more abstract to it. Where am I in even my soul? And so therefore we are aware of the question, and therefore we are ready to hear the teaching that our emotions are also actions, right? And let me explain that, because now we're going to begin the real teaching, okay? This is what the Kabbalah and the Chassidut says as an explanation of the Rambam, not a disagreement. It's sophisticated, so only real adults, okay? Real adults, not the mature, I'm too cool for emotions adults. I mean real adults, okay? Derech mitzvotecha ha'amanat elokut. Read it from chapters 4 to 8. I recommend everybody goes and read the whole thing. It's been translated into English by RabbiYehoshuaSimons Shlita. It's available online for free. You can buy it as a book, and you can find a rabbi to teach it to you if you'd like to do it in the original Hebrew. It's purely up to you, but strong recommendation. It's not that long. Get it done in a week if you want. 12 chapters. So this is how it goes. The self, the me, that is me, is even beyond your soul. If you can say mine about it, then it's not you. It's something that you possess. So my soul is not me, believe it or not. And that makes sense. A soul is a vehicle, just like a body is a vehicle. And there's levels of the soul, each a vehicle of the other, and it goes all the way up to the etzem neshama. So you are your etzem neshama, or even beyond. Chelek elokam mimal mamash. And that does not have emotions because you are not an emotion. You are someone who sometimes feels an emotion. And that is an action that your me, yourself, is doing. Okay? There are no emotions within your me. Emotions are in the heart that Hashem gave you inside your soul and body. And when you pour your infinite soul light into that, for whatever reason, then you experience, because that is what a me does, it experiences, you experience an emotion. Lahavdil elef havdalot is exactly the same with Hashem. There are differences, and I'm definitely not going to get into them in this video. I strongly recommend that you don't think that this is the final say, and I'm going to say it straight away, so that the heretic brigade can't come and call me a heretic. But Hashem, lahavdil, is the same. He is beyond the category of emotions, just like you are beyond the category of emotions. However, he created the Sefirot of Atzilut through a massive Simsum, and those Sefirot of Atzilut he's completely united with in his essence, so much so that they are as nothing to him. And as such, he experiences, so to speak, emotions too. And that, when the Torah says Hashem loves you, it's true. The love of Atzilut is the real love. Our love is a devolution of that. It's a massive contraction, a billion layers deep, of a mushal of a mushal of a mushal. Go and watch my mushal video on Is Reality a Simulation to get a feel for that. And so on for all the other attributes. So yes, in his essence, Hashem doesn't have any attributes, but in your essence, you don't either. Because that's wrong, that's not right. That's not what an essence is. An essence, someone has to be the one feeling the emotion, right? That's what we're talking about. When we say Hashem is one, we're talking about him, beyond the category of emotions. So yes, Hashem loves you, but there's still another problem that's left over. I just said it. I said it in two different ways. I said, firstly, there's ein od milvato. There's nothing besides him. So how can he have an emotional arousal to himself? Doesn't make sense. And the other is that we are so much of a step down. It's even more so than, say, a father playing with his little child. When a father plays with his little child, his child is in this little world of basic immature emotions, and the father pretends to also feel emotions because he wants the child to feel like he's connecting. But the father the father cannot escape the knowledge that he's a sophisticated adult. He can't truly pretend. Have you ever tried to truly forget reality and totally immerse yourself in a fantasy? You can't, right? It's not possible. We try and we try and we try. We play video games, do VR, whatever. We try to get really immersed into the fake reality that we like to fantasize about, and it's never truly possible because we cannot possibly forget that we are a sophisticated adult that is living in reality and not in fantasy. So if the father tries to get into the fantasies of the child's level, it has to be pretend. So the Tzemach Tzedek deals with this in chapter 8. He says that Hashem's thoughts are not our thoughts. When we try to get into another reality through our thinking can do nothing of the sort. Our thinking is not creative. It doesn't create a power like that. It doesn't create a reality. I can't just wish something to be true or think it to be true, even if it's just a fantasy. I'm not talking about a physical object. I'm talking about just a story. I mean, I can do it in my dreams, I guess, but that's beyond my conscious control. But that's a hint. Hashem, who's beyond the aspect of our universe, when he wants to come into this world, nothing can stop him. Because his thoughts are not our thoughts. If he wants to be emotively connected to our world, he can, and he will, and it will be real. It won't be like the Father pretending, even though it's a much bigger leap than the Father and the Son. It's an infinitely bigger leap. But as the Tzemach Tzedek says, and I think chapter 6 or 7, that even though it's an infinite difference, it's just more distant, infinitely more so, but it's the same thing. And the other thing that you need to know is, what does it mean that ein od milvado? What it means is like this. as the Alter Rebbe gives us the mashal in Tanya, Shayicha Ve'amunah, what it means for us to be batal to Hashem, right? We're nullified to Hashem, as if we don't exist at all. That's a famous statement, right? The philosophers have taken that too far, or the people have misunderstood the philosophers, I should say, the real philosophers like the Rambam. But that statement doesn't mean what you think it means. Firstly, it says ke'ilu. It's as if it doesn't exist. And if you were to miss that ke'ilu, then you're going to get it wrong. The ke'ilu is really important. I'll give you an example from yourself, okay? And I'm sorry if I'm a bit all over the place. This is not scripted, right? This is just, I'm going to make many videos, and hopefully by watching them all, something will make sense at some point, but bear with me. When you're thinking, are you aware that you're thinking? No. When you're feeling an emotion, are you aware that you're feeling an emotion? No. You can take on like you can get out of yourself and view yourself objectively from like a secondary point of view and say, oh, that's a feeling. I feel it. Oh yeah, it does feel. I never noticed that whenever someone does this, whenever somebody does this to me, I feel happy, but I never thought of myself as feeling happy. I just felt happy because we are so unified with our soul, even our very thoughts, that when we're actually thinking, that just feels like me. It doesn't feel like me thinking. Only when I, as I said, pay attention to it and actually look closely, I can say, oh yeah, this is thinking, isn't it? And then you can hear the words in your head. You can see the letters in your head. You can think about yourself thinking, as it were. But most of the time, your thoughts are nullified to you like a ray of the sun in the sun itself. When the ray of the sun is inside the sun, it doesn't have its own existence because it's inside the sun, and the sun is a being of light. And the being of light is nothing compared to the sun itself. The sun is so much brighter, infinitely more so, than that one little photon of light. So most of the time, you are so immersed in your own conscious reality, your own me, that you don't view yourself as a being with a soul and a body and feelings and thoughts. You're just you. And that's what it always means when it comes to Hashem, right? Anytime you see that statement, that the world is nullified to him, does not mean the world does not have any existence at all. It just means that Hashem doesn't even see it as separate from him. He doesn't even see you as separate from him, because you are also nullified to him. That should be sufficient for anybody who understands. But the conclusion is that anybody who says that Hashem does not love us, he does not care, does not emotionally respond to us, they're wrong. Is there more to say? Yes, there is, but I've already given you my source, so go and look at it. Catch up before chapter 8 to see how the sphere of Atzilut come into being and what's that created by and how that's different from our soul. And by the way, the difference between the sphere of Atzilut as a soul for Hashem, so to speak, is even more than our soul is to us. Not less. Not less. So to say he doesn't love us is wrong. It's like everything that a lot of the Kabbalists and Hasidic masters have been saying all along, that Hashem's feelings are the real feelings and ours are not. It's not just that ours are lesser, but his are more unified, more connected to his essence than ours are. And I just showed you how much ours are, so just think about that. So please, do me a favor. Let go of this annoying yeshivish teaching that has been mistakenly construed from basic theological arguments. The theological arguments actually imply the opposite of what you've been taught. The theological arguments are true, but their understanding has gone wrong. Like I showed you with the Rambam. Rambam says Hashem's feelings are actions. So some people thought, oh, so Hashem is acting, and that you can see how that's wrong now. But you could see why you could get it wrong. It's the same with all of them. The truth is, we say, B'Shemu Malchut, Baruch Atah Hashem Ohev et Amo Yisrael. We say with Hashem's ineffable name, Hashem loves his nation Israel. We say in Kiddush, Ratzah Banu, he wants us. With Shemu Malchut, it's the holiest. Kiddush is one of the most important barachot that we make in all of liturgy, in all of tefillah. So please, please, please stop being stuck, thinking it's impossible to love Hashem. And I need to find a way to love him even though I know he can't possibly love me back. You don't have to do that anymore because it's not true. It never was true. It's a mistake. And that's what I'm here to say. And I'm going to prove that in 1,000 different ways. I'm going to say it in 1,000 different ways to help you because I needed that help too at some point too. And when I heard it, I researched it and I went into it with all my tenacity. And I have something to say now. So I'm here making this YouTube channel for free. I'm not asking for anything in return. Just because it's only fair that I give back what I was given by the Tzemach Tzedek and all the Rebbeim who bled and sweated and taught us with every fiber of their being. And it's all available for all of us. It's not just for the Kabbalists. It's not just for the Rebbeim. It's for everybody, including you. Whether you're frum, whether you're not, whether you're Jewish, whether you're not. We're all Hashem's children. He loves all of us more than we can possibly imagine. And now, the last thing that you have to worry about is how scary is his love, because that's another mountain to climb, isn't it? Shkoyach, thanks for listening.